One of the weirdest nicknames I've heard in fighting. There's people have some strange nicknames at times, but the Lemon Killer. What do you even make of that? What is that about?
I don't even know what that means, but I'm gonna squeeze him like a lemon on the day we fight, and he's gonna pop.
Only on SportsGrid.
What if he gets Kellen Moore? See, that's Ty, right? He was like supposed to be the coach in waiting when he was the offensive coordinator. Is that enough? Like, does Jerry pull the trigger for that? Or does he pull the trigger for Dion?
Mike McCarthy would have not let this play out this way unless he had a job. So I think McCarthy already has the New Orleans job.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We all know MVPs don't win the Super Bowl. It's not about MVPs, man. The only MVP, fine. Win the MVP in the Super Bowl. Nobody cares about the MVP in the regular season besides people that bet on it, the actual player themselves, and their agent that's getting a cut of the bonus money. Other than that, who cares? What do you care who wins the MVP? Like I said, unless you bet on it. Right? If you bet on it, fine. Then I guess you can.
Sports Rage tonight. Only on SportsGrid.
We welcome you to hour number 2 live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across that SportsGrid network. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. In this second hour, we'll play our favorite NFL game, buy or sell, with the teams that have been eliminated now from NFL postseason competition. Those big picture questions for these franchises about to embark on another offseason around the National Football League. We'll talk some college football, some closing thoughts on the season that was, and the first ever 12-team college football playoff. And our guy, Keith Stewart, joins us up next for another week on the PGA Tour on a great stop each and every year in what we hope is sunny San Diego and Torrey Pines. I believe I read the PGA Tour schedule correctly. DRS, a lot to get to here in this second hour and up to 11 a.m. Eastern.
Absolutely. Looking forward to getting down to some business here. Maybe we do talk some golf where it is warmer temperatures than what we're finding on the East Coast, the Southeast Coast, the West Coast, whatever coast it is. Freezing temperatures across, including like 10 inches of snow in some parts of Mississippi and Louisiana, which is wild to think about. But the heat is always brought at the SportsGrid Network. So let's go. Let's melt the snow. Let's do it.
Ooh, I love that, DRS. Final AP poll of the 2024 college football season. That was a bar. Final AP poll of the 2024 college football season unveiled yesterday. And, of course, the national champion Ohio State Buckeyes at the top. And look at the other teams besides them in the top 5. Notre Dame, the Buckeyes beat in the title. Oregon, the Buckeyes beat in the Rose Bowl in the college football playoff quarterfinal. The Longhorns of Texas, the Buckeyes beat in the CFP semifinal at the Cotton Bowl. And number 5, Penn State, who Ohio State dispatched in Beaver Stadium in the regular season. Of course, the format, DRS, and the first ever 12-team CFP, allowing more opportunity to play and beat the best of the best. But Ohio State, the first team ever in the history of college football in the modern era, since the AP poll came out in 1936, to beat the other 4 teams in a top 5. A highly successful season for Ohio State, ending with a national championship.
Absolutely, but if we were baseball writers here, Notre Dame probably snuck in 1 or 2 votes there to be the number 1 team in the country based off of what we saw in that title game. But Ohio State really proved it on the field. And this is what I loved, and this is what we talked about the minute that we heard the college football playoff was coming to town, because teams would earn the right to be champions. Not one game, not voted on, where you didn't even play the other number 1 team, not, oh, look at this, it's a 14 bracket. We got lucky because Washington slipped in on one side. We smoked them while the other team had to have a tough battle just to get to play us in the national championship game. You look at that path for Ohio State, it was absolutely earned. Not a single person after watching Ohio State Notre Dame goes, you know what, it would have been nice if Miami made it into the playoff. No, we don't get to do that here because they played 4 really good opponents on their way to a championship, well-deserving. We never, Ben, in the future, ever have to worry about who the true national champion is, as long as we have at least 12 teams in the college football playoff. Look at that, guys. It worked like a charm. Nobody's upset. It ended exactly the way it was supposed to, with the best team in college football winning that award.
The largest ever field in a postseason competing for a national championship, the most wins required to be crowned a national champ. I would agree with Donnie. I was always in favor of expansion because on the actual football field, not by numbers or newspaper writers or hypotheticals, we would learn who the best team throughout the entirety of a season would be in college football. The team playing its best at the most crucial times of a season to be crowned a national champ, to stand atop the mountain and reach the pinnacle of FBS college football. And there was zero doubt Ohio State was exactly that. Perfect, of course, in the college football playoff. Had to play in 4 games, won 4 games, and covered against the number in all 4 victories as well. Donnie, way back in early October, you heard from me, even before that opening game in Austin against the Oregon Ducks, I bet on Ohio State to win a national championship at plus 290, one of the worst prices you could have had this year on the Buckeyes based on those odds in the preseason and even before the college football playoff came out. And it wasn't always easy. It wasn't always a comfortable path for Ohio State. The 1-point loss in Eugene. Of course, the humiliation at home in the shoe, losing for a 4th consecutive season against the Maize and Blue and that team up north in Michigan. But what do we love in sport? Resolve, response, bounce back, overcoming adversity, which is a term too often used as a cliche when you actually haven't been through things that are all that adverse. But that's what Ohio State did this year. And to end as a national champ, I thought it was an incredibly impressive statement, not only for Ryan Day and those from Columbus, but for the first ever 12-team college football playoff to allow the opportunity to seize that moment. And Ohio State certainly did.
Circumstances, right? That's what it always comes down to. You look at Ohio State and you would have said, just let's say this game happened a year before in that Michigan game. Ryan Day's fired. He's an embarrassment. His name will never be talked about Ohio State, never with the Tressels or the Urban Meyers or the Woody Hayeses back in the day. He would have been an embarrassment. But you know what happened? The 12-team playoff comes in, gives him a chance for redemption. Now he's looked at as, you know what? We didn't like this guy, but he won a championship. He goes down as one of the best coaches in Ohio State history, as instead of one of the worst coaches in Ohio State history based on expectations at the beginning of the season. That's what we like. The NFL landscape is now involved in college football because you just saw that record. Ohio State went 14-2 in a college football season. It used to be 11 games, 12 games, maybe max. Now we're playing full NFL seasons. These kids are getting paid. Their expectations are a lot more. But also understand this. Like, we expected Ohio State to make it into the college football playoff based on the parameters. Like, we don't look at the NFL and be like, hey, Ben, you see Kansas City? They got beat 38-0 the final game against Denver. And fire Andy Reid, get him out of there. They don't deserve to be in the playoffs. I love this. We don't want merit-based getting into the college football playoff. We just want to put the best teams in with legitimate chances to win it. And Ohio State, from day number 1 of the college football season, was probably the most talented team in the country. Sometimes you just have to find your footing along the way, and they did that. And they got no surprise in the college football playoff, played 10-bell game after 10-bell game, had to earn it, and won a national championship. That's what we love about sports. Earn it on the field after adversity. That's what wins. That's what Ohio State did.
And you saw that preseason 4-1 price about a $0.50 behind Georgia. This was expected for Ohio State to win a national championship with how loaded that roster was. Ohio State saw their bitter rival in Michigan win a national championship last year and said never again in Over Our Dead Bodies. And for the crowd that would then say, well, the game lasts some significance, no, it did not. Just because Ohio State still had the opportunity to compete in the college football playoff, believe you me, there will still be those in Columbus and certainly everybody in Ann Arbor that would say, we have the last laugh. Look at the Woody Hayes quote, saying that you're never truly a national champion unless you win the game. Believe me, those that back the Wolverines will float that all off season, and it will still be critical to win the game each and every year. There was a poll done by the Columbus Dispatch. Would you rather win a national championship or finally beat Michigan? And beat Michigan was still more important.
Idiot.
I get it is a national championship, but it is still incredibly important, DRS, those rivalry games. And I do not believe in any form or fashion the 12-team college football playoff demean the regular season. In fact, I believe it made the entirety of the regular season for the entire country that much more important. The odds, by the way, for next year, Ohio State is the preseason national championship favorite. I'm not so sure I agree. There's going to be a lot of turnover in Columbus and a new quarterback, perhaps, in Julian Sayin, but we'll have some time to discuss that. PGA Tour previews next.
You know, they have a lot of hopes, and they thought last year they were turning the corner. Even early this year, they start turning the corner, and then you lose 13 games in a row.
Edmonton chipped away, got a late goal, won the game 4-3. I felt like they dominated the third period. They moved the puck on that power play. It was an exceptional hockey game. It went over the total.
Only on SportsGrid.
This guy Ovechkin, how he was injured and missed all that time, and the fact that he's still on pace to pass Gretzky.
I think everybody's rooting for Ovechkin at this point in time, and I think he'll do it as well. So it's a feat that no one ever thought Scotty would be broken. It's going to be broken, and it's probably going to be broken because he's not going to stop shooting.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
A staple on the PGA Tour early in every season. To San Diego we go for the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines. But before we head out to Southern California, we go to Florida in Orlando. Joining us live from the PGA Merchandise Show, it is Keith Stewart here on the Early Line to get you set for a new week on the PGA Tour and talk all of the happenings in golf, all of the hot new merchandise that you will see. And Keith, looks a little bit spruced up today. Many there in a quarter zip getting ready to find what the best and brightest golf has to offer is now available. Keith, as always, we appreciate the time on this Wednesday morning on the early line.
Hey, Ben, Donnie, we got to get right into it because of the Championship Sunday that's upcoming. The PGA Tour starts on Wednesday this week out on the West Coast. So here on the East Coast, we got a couple extra hours, but it's Wednesday through Saturday. The PGA Tour made that change a couple years ago. So let's get right into the golf. Guys got to get their bets. They got to get it done before these guys tee off around 9:30 a.m.
Yes, we certainly do. So, Keith, let's dive right into what the numbers are looking like for this week out at Torrey Pines. Ludwig Oberg, he is the favorite at 9-1. Hideki Matsuyama not all that far behind, an 11-1 price. Keith, you stare at the top of the odds board. Which golfers do you think are best fit for a run this week in San Diego?
Well, Ben, as you brought up in the opening, this is a classic golf course. The South Course at Torrey, it's hosted 2 U.S. Opens. Now, over the course of the first 2 rounds, they play the North and the South, but they're going to play 3 on the South, and it's a monster. And that's why Ludwig Oberg and Hideki Matsuyama, the 2 highest-ranked golfers in the world, are the favorites. Now, Hideki, he's already won this year, shot 35 under par at the Century on a big golf course there. He's got to be a favorite, and he has 2 top 10s there in the last 5 years. Now, Oberg, he's only played there once, T9 last year, and he gained over 6 strokes ball striking. That's off the tee and on approach. The 2 of them are 2 perfect fits for this contest.
How about that? Lining it up there. Hopefully get some good weather out on the West Coast. We are talking about some big topics across the landscape, Keith, and you were live in the building for the TGL yesterday. Give us a look of what you're seeing down there and also the competitiveness, and most importantly, are the golfers enjoying themselves in this new environment?
Well, I was in the arena last night, guys, and I can tell you that the Atlanta Drive was enjoying themselves way more than the New York Golf Club, who is now 0-2 in 3 weeks of matches, right? The New York guys, and of course Xander wasn't there last night. It seems like number 2 player in the world has a little bit of a rib injury he's dealing with. Number 1 in the world, Scotty, we know about the hand, but the Atlanta Drive, they look good last night, guys. And I tell you, everyone in the arena, and there's a lot of people, a lot of executives that are in this building today that were down there in Palm Beach yesterday, and everyone's really excited about the TGL conversation. I know, Donnie, it's going to quiet all of the live talk, which might make you upset. But here, the fact of the matter is that TGL has been super positive, and if you get a chance and you're down there in South Florida like our friend Joe Ranieri, you got to get over there because the atmosphere inside is absolutely electric.
It certainly seems to be the case. Keith, as we go back to San Diego, we look at Torrey Pines, and we talk about the golf course overall. You mentioned it is a classic stop each and every year. As you look at players, maybe outside of those favorites that you think have the games best suited for San Diego, what is one of the keys you'll need in the game this week to have success at the Farmers Insurance Open?
Guys, we're working with limited time until this thing starts. So here's Keith's keys. 3 quick things. The first thing, 200 plus. You've got to be a great long iron player. 7 of the 8 par 3s are over 200 yards on these 2 different courses. The second thing is you got to be a top gun. We're right there near Miramar. I don't know if Tom Cruise is going to be there or not, but I'll tell you what, you got to be able to launch the ball high. Tiger Woods won there 7 times. Jason Day, who's in the field, he's won there twice. Both those guys hit their iron shots super, super high. And why? Because the South Course, it's the longest course on the PGA Tour, 7,700 yards plus, and it has 5,000 square foot greens on average. So that's a super small target. And you know what? We don't get any rain in Southern California. We know what's going on in LA. Well, it's the same situation down there in San Diego. This place is going to play like a brick. Those small greens from these faraway targets, you've got to be able to launch it high like a top gun. And the last thing is because of all that bounce, the ball is going to fall through those greens. You're going to need to be a good around the green, kind of short game chef, mind you, right? You're going to be able to need to get the ball up and down because this is a U.S. Open style venue.
By the way, Keith, we always like to see what's coming next on the PGA Tour. Usually we watch a legendary tournament out there at Riviera. It looks like that is going to be moved due to the devastating wildfires. Keep us up to date on what they're looking to do with the Genesis Invitational out on the tour.
Well, about a week ago, we talked about this on C2C, that they're not going to use Riviera. It's not the right thing to do. The tour came out and they said that TBD where they're going to go. Well, as a media member, we've already been told, hey, get a ticket for Torrey. So it looks like we're going to come back to the South Course here, which is fitting for a signature event. We'll have the top 70 guys on tour playing for $20 million. It won't be Riviera, but it looks like we are going to go back to this U.S. Open venue because it will already be set up, and it is the type and style of golf course that really, when you do have the best players in the world competing on the PGA Tour, this is the right place for them to go. And Tiger Woods is the host of that event at Riviera, and we know that Tiger has won here 7 times. He also won a U.S. Open here, so that's 8 total. And his foundation transitioning down to here and all they can do for the community here in Southern California, it's the right thing to do, and it's not official yet, but I tell you what, my bags are packed, and I'm going to San Diego in 3 weeks.
The Genesis Invitational scheduled for the week after the Super Bowl, maybe making its way back to San Diego. All right, Keith, we're about 10 minutes away from those golfers out in Southern California hitting their first tee balls of the week. How about a couple of picks here, whether it be a top 10, top 20, something to get us started here on the early line?
Well, guys, I love my early leans on the early line. The first one is I'm going with the kid, the favorite. He started the week at plus 1,300. He's now down to single digits. Everybody loves him here. T9 last year, number 6 in the world, Ludwig Oberg. Bet him. And then further down the board, right there in the middle, there's a guy by the name of J.J. Spawn. He's an L.A. native. He's really good on these grasses out there on the West Coast. And over his last 10 events, he's gaining over 4 strokes on the field with his ball striking. He was second at the Sony. He's playing really, really well. I like J.J. Spawn in the middle of the board. And, of course, Ludwig Oberg to take down the title.
Keith Stewart, we appreciate it. A man working double duty this week in Orlando, but still previewing what we have on the PGA Tour. Keith, as always, we appreciate the time and thank you for being here. We go back to the NFL and some big picture questions up next on the early line.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Saturday, January 25th is a huge day at Gulfstream Park. It is Pegasus Cup Day. We're going to have a preview show. First Bet presents the DRF handicapping show for Pegasus World Cup. Alexa, tell us more.
Yep, Friday, January 24th. Make sure to tune in on SportsGrid TV from 2 to 3 p.m. to see the show. If you miss it then, don't worry. It airs again on Saturday at 11 a.m. We're going to talk about all the major contenders in the Pegasus Cup.
Special guests Bailey Armour, Samantha Perry, and Randy Moss will join us. Don't miss it.
We play our favorite game each and every week around the National Football League, and now it takes on an added layer of significance because we've looked at the teams bounce from playoff competition in what is ahead. Their big picture conversations being had throughout the entirety of the offseason and the narratives that will follow each franchise. It is time for buy or sell, and we start with the hot button conversation in Baltimore. The lack of success that a potential 3-time NFL MVP winner in Lamar Jackson has had in the postseason. Here are the playoff resume and stats for Lamar. A 3-5 overall record, just one AFC Championship game appearance, 13 total touchdowns, 11 total turnovers. So, Donnie, let's dive right in. Buy or sell, Lamar Jackson will never win a Super Bowl.
I'm selling that right now. As long as you are in the mix in the NFL on a year-to-year basis with chances to get home field advantage, I do think he's going to break through. Now, granted, it's much harder sometimes. Maybe he used the best years of his career already. I still think he's in the middle of his prime, and things just didn't work out. But we're at that level now where the questions are going to pop up because in the biggest moments, for some reason, as we point out, Baltimore just can't get over the hump. This team has been way too talented over the past 5 years to not only not win a Super Bowl, but at least make a Super Bowl and have an appearance from Lamar Jackson. But the one thing I do love about Lamar Jackson as the leader, it's very simple to say and get up there in your most frustrating moments, which typically come right after the game. Hey, man, Mark Andrews didn't lose this game. We're here as a team. I love that guy. He's made a lot of big plays. I'll trust him more into the future. Maybe they are another player or two away where you can say maybe Zay Flowers would have made a difference in that game. Maybe if we had a more healthy secondary that could have had maybe matched up with that, offense for the Buffalo Bills. I'm selling this because it's easy to say he's never going to win it because, number one, it's really hard to win a championship. And even harder, it seems like, to make it through the AFC just to get to the championship game and to play in the Super Bowl and win it there. I still like Lamar Jackson as a quarterback. His team is talented. He'll make runs over the next couple of years. I'm going to sell that notion that he can't win a Super Bowl, Ben.
Never win a Super Bowl, I will sell as well. But not necessarily, DRS, with a ton of conviction, but because of what you presented as well. The opportunity will be there. The Baltimore Ravens, in the years that Lamar Jackson has played in Baltimore and mostly been the starter, have made the postseason 6 times in those 7 years. 5 of the times in the playoffs, Lamar Jackson was relatively healthy as the starting quarterback. And they've had those opportunities. They have won a division 4 times in those years, hosting a playoff game at least once. They have been a 1 seed twice in those 5 years with Lamar Jackson as their fully healthy starter. The opportunity is there, but with opportunity, success must follow, and it hasn't so far. So, Donnie, if you were to make buy minus 450, which I think would be correct, the overwhelming favorite, and you were to give me an intriguing plus money price on sell, or I guess other way around, sell being this because never win a Super Bowl, minus 500 and buy plus 260, I think it might be worth a sprinkle. And that's because of what we have seen out of Lamar Jackson multiple times in a row. Can't call it a coincidence. And also because of what the AFC will have more than likely the entirety of Lamar Jackson's career. That's going to be Patrick Mahomes. That's going to be Josh Allen. More than likely, that's going to be Joe Burrow. More often than not, the opportunity will be there. It's why I am selling the notion never win a Super Bowl. Ultimately, in the next 10 years, I do believe the flock and Lamar breaks through. But I'm not exactly convinced that Lamar Jackson wins a Lombardi trophy during his NFL career.
Yeah, he's not Russell Westbrook, like being a horrible teammate, only caring about himself and his numbers. He sacrificed a lot there from Baltimore. They need him to run the football, he'll run it. They need him to pass, he's going to pass it. It just hasn't worked out in his favor in the biggest moments and not always being his fault. Now, as a quarterback, you're going to shoulder the load. The wins and the losses usually fall on you. How well you played, you're going to get the credit. If you played poorly, you're going to totally get the loss. So, they lost 42-41. Boy, Lamar just couldn't get over the hump. Or was it the defense giving up 41 points? We understand that. But this team, again, all you need in the NFL is to be in the mix with a legitimate chance and being healthy once you get the playoffs to get there. Maybe next year you get that home game with the Buffalo Bills as opposed to the road game here. But as you said it, Ben, and we talked about it, there are so many Hall of Fame-style quarterbacks in the AFC in their prime. Boy, oh boy, it's going to be tough just to win the AFC at that point here. But we're never going to sell Lamar Jackson. He's right up there on the pantheon of great quarterbacks. And why not Lamar Jackson?
I think we'll have a little bit more of a conversation about Lamar, and then we'll talk about the line. That comes up next on the early line.
You know, they have a lot of hopes, and they thought last year they were turning the corner. Even early this year, they start turning the corner, and then you lose 13 games in a row.
Edmonton chipped away, got a late goal, won the game 4-3. I felt like they dominated the third period. They moved the puck on that power play. It was an exceptional hockey game. It went over the total.
Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The big picture buy or sell questions for the teams that were ousted in the divisional round of the NFL postseason. It was a similar conversation that both Donnie and I had on Monday morning. Of course, when the Ravens faltered on Sunday night in Western New York, you would highlight the success of Josh Allen, the Bills, advancing to an AFC championship game, but also question Lamar Jackson and Baltimore. Can you place the entire blame and onus of an organization on one guy, albeit a quarterback? No, the logical answer being that. But we do put up the records of a quarterback, and we do subscribe the idea of success to one position above all else in the NFL. That is the QB, fair or unfair. And Donnie, at the end of the regular season, Josh Allen was an odds-on favorite to win his first NFL MVP award. But then the All-Pro team came out, and they are voted on by many similar media members who also vote for the NFL MVP hardware. And Lamar Jackson was the All-Pro first-team quarterback selection. Josh Allen, second team. So more than likely, Lamar Jackson now on track to win his second consecutive NFL MVP award, his third in the last 6 seasons. Lamar would become the 7th ever NFL player to win 3 or more MVP awards. He would join Johnny Unitas, Jim Brown, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning. What is something all 6 of those previous players have in common? At least one Super Bowl championship. Now, you could argue Favre, Rodgers, they have more. Jim Brown, by the way, NFL championship. I think the same with Johnny Unitas, because I'm not sure they were in the Super Bowl era just yet, but at least one NFL/Super Bowl championship. You could argue they should have more. Of course, nobody has more than the 7 rings that Tom Brady has, and Peyton Manning, multiple Super Bowl championships as well. But everybody in that group has one Super Bowl championship. If Lamar Jackson does join, making that crew now 7, he will be the only one as of yet with a Lombardi or championship trophy. Will that change? We both think the opportunity will be there. But it is a blemish on the overall resume for Lamar Jackson, his lack of playoff success. And because of the individual success he has seen in the regular season, it is more than a fair criticism of his overall record and resume in his National Football League career.
Absolutely. And look, when you are expected to be MVP or MVP caliber, what's the next step in the evolution of you being a quarterback that's an MVP? Win the Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP. Because the expectations, if you're a great player in the regular season, you better carry that over to the playoffs. And that hasn't happened yet. Now, earlier in his career, making to the playoffs, like, boy, Lamar Jackson can't pass. Do you look at his statistics now? Only an idiot would say, like, Lamar Jackson can't pass. His numbers are absolutely phenomenal. And then you throw in the athletic ability to manipulate the pocket and run himself. It makes him one of those members in the Hall of Fame future that you just need a coronation of a Super Bowl to maybe push him over the top. I don't think anybody looks at Lamar Jackson and said he's not a really good quarterback in the NFL. But sometimes there is that clutch gene that you start to question when you don't get over the hump. We don't look back at Dan Marino like, that guy stunk, man. Couldn't even win a championship. We just look back and say, how in the heck did he not win a Super Bowl? Now, there's 11 starters on offense and defense. It's a lot different than other sports. We could just dominate yourself on both sides here. You need some help. The knock on Marino was they never gave him a passing game. They always had a bad defense. He always had to win a shootout. If he had a bad game, there was no chance of victory because the defense possibly couldn't hold up. Now in Baltimore, you're saying, like, wait a second. You got everything around you that you need. Why aren't things clicking now where now we start to turn to, hey, the competition is much more stiff. It's hard to get there. At the end of his career, if he doesn't win a Super Bowl, he will be looked at as Dan Marino, maybe rightfully so, even Charles Barkley in the NBA. Fantastic player, but just couldn't get over the hump. It's a shame that you always look back and say, why do we have to do that? Because we love Barkley. We love Marino. We'll love Lamar Jackson when he's done. But, boy, just to slip that one ring on his finger, just to say, you know what? He got it done. Now he can be listed as one of the all-time greats. You still need that stamp of approval, and maybe he gets there.
It elevates your aura in the pantheon of the all-time greats because it's not just individual success. It is the ultimate goal of championships in any sport, but in the NFL, Super Bowl rings. And Donnie, I think you bring up a fair point as well. A lasting image, of course, from Sunday night in the divisional round will be Mark Andrews dropping that 2-point conversion. That would have tied the game. All right, Mark Andrews and his fumble earlier in the fourth quarter. Sure, but there were 2 first-half turnovers by Lamar Jackson, both equally atrocious. There have been issues with Lamar's individual play in the postseason that leave you skeptical that is going to change. So the criticisms, unfortunate for Lamar Jackson, a sensational player, but are fair. The dumb, incorrect, and frankly distasteful takes earlier in his career have been proven so incredibly wrong that it's not even a part of the conversation. The main narrative now, the playoff resume in the lack of success in the games where it matters most. NFC Championship odds, the RS, entering 2024. The team that came up short in overtime, who had made the NFC Championship game 4 of the previous 5 seasons, the San Francisco 49ers were a short favorite. You see it there, nearly half the price of everybody else in the conference. The Lions had a 5-1 number, the Eagles at 6-1, the Packers and the Cowboys at 9-1, and I will continue to say, as I do each and every preseason, I wouldn't take Donnie's money or my worst enemy's money and put it on the Dallas Cowboys to win an NFC championship before a season starts ever. But that's not the focus on Dallas. It's on Detroit, who entered the postseason the short favorites to win an NFC championship, who, as the number 1 seed, entered the divisional round in even money favorite, plus 100 to win the NFC title and play for the first time ever in a Super Bowl. So buy or sell on the Lions' outlook moving forward. Detroit will open next season as the NFC favorites.
Caveat, do the Eagles win this week? If they do and go to the Super Bowl, I think the Eagles will be the favorites in the NFC next year. So I'll sort of sell that notion, but also understand this. We're not just looking at teams of like how good they are entering in. Changes will be made in the offseason. Coaches will be leaving like you're already seeing in Detroit and possibly an offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. But also understand this. You look at the NFC North and you say, okay, top level team, Detroit. very good football team, Packers, very good football team as you anticipate Minnesota, whether or not their quarterback is going to be Darnold or J.J. McCarthy. But also the Chicago Bears getting Ben Johnson. That's a team that looks like can be competitive, and it's not a rollover where you get 2 free wins on the schedule. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles next year. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, if they're healthy and Dak Prescott, formidable opponent. We're not going to argue that. Washington can also, they fall back in a sophomore slump. We're not expecting that. Let's say they have a great young quarterback and a team that's going to make even more improvements. But you still do have the New York Giants, who next year, I don't think we have high expectations that they're going to have. Like, you know what? They're going to battle and be a really good football team. There's only one way to go, is up. I look at it, just the notion of, we see it with Ohio State winning a championship. We don't know who their quarterback is. Yes, they're going to be national champions. It's almost the sign of the respect that comes in right away, and then the offseason changes come in, and maybe some of those numbers move. If the Eagles win this week, I believe they will be favored to win the NFC next year just out of respect, and we'll go from there. That's my answer on this. So Detroit, I'll sell that because I think the Eagles are winning, and I think the Eagles will be favored next year come, let's just say, the offseason per se.
I think it's a brilliant topic of conversation. Shout out our producer extraordinaire, Joe Frieso. But I do think the caveat is fair. Do the Eagles play in a Super Bowl? Because then I'm going to sell the Lions being the favorites. I think the Birds might have them even by $1.50. And that is even a further caveat if Philadelphia is to win a Lombardi trophy this year. No doubt the Eagles will open as a favorite. I do believe the forgotten team, though, in the NFC title conversation entering next year is going to be San Francisco. A price probably shorter than we expect or anticipate at this moment. That might eat up some of those shorter numbers for both Detroit and Philly. Again, we'll continue this conversation on the other side because I believe it is a good one. More than likely, I think the Eagles open as a slight favorite in front of Detroit, with the 49ers not all that far behind. Let's talk about the Lions and what we can expect up next, live right here on the Early Line.
You know, they have a lot of hopes, and they thought last year they were turning the corner. Even early this year, they start turning the corner, and then you lose 13 games in a row.
Edmonton chipped away, got a late goal, won the game 4-3. I felt like they dominated the third period. They moved the puck on that power play. It was an exceptional hockey game. It went over the total.
Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
A great bit of debate entering the 2025 NFL season. Who will open up the year as the favorites to win the NFC Championship? Both Donnie and I agree that with the caveat, if Philadelphia wins the NFC Championship this season on Sunday at home and plays in a Super Bowl, the Eagles will open up as a slight favorite. As we look at the odds in the preseason from this year, again, the 49ers were a drastically short favorite that always struck me as slightly confounding. Not that San Francisco was in front of everybody, but by nearly half the number of every other team in the NFC, felt a little bit short. Plus 260 on the 49ers. 5-1 Lions, 6-1 Eagles. We'll save the Packers and the Cowboys for another time. Donnie, let's say Philadelphia does win this weekend against divisional mate in Washington to clinch their second NFC championship in the last 3 years. I think it would be something as such, and tell me if you think I'm off. Plus 350 Eagles, 4-1 Detroit, maybe a plus 550, 6-1 price on the 49ers, who I still do believe, based on how much the odds makers have loved San Francisco, even in this failure of a season, they have that third best price entering next year.
Yeah, no, it sounds about right at that point. And it's just a matter of, because as we said, the opening number comes out. You're going to have free agents. You're going to have the draft. You're going to have injuries. You're going to have retirements. You're going to have coaching changes. A lot of that's going to go into the mold. But I do think it's close between Detroit and Philadelphia because understand this, they are going to lose coaching from their coaching staff and hopefully make a good choice on, let's just say, offensive and defensive coordinator. But the shell of that team is the MO for Detroit wasn't like, boy, fully healthy. Shame they didn't get it done this year because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. It was, boy, we lost our entire defense and still were able to hang around. Now, if our entire defense is coming back with that offense, we should be able to show out. And then there's always the negatives of you playing a really tough division. There's no free wins, so then it makes your path harder to get to a Super Bowl. And I think it's right. I think the Eagles close with Detroit, and for some reason, everybody in the odds market who makes the odds up, FanDuel Sportsbook included, is like, we love the 49ers and just can't let them go because we are glossing over that. The Niners were the prohibitive favorite right out of the gate as if nobody's going to touch them, only to find themselves not making the playoffs. So it is tough, despite you thinking you're the favorites entering it in. A lot of things still have to play out, but I think it's right the way it sets up for next year.
San Francisco was a favorite to win the Super Bowl this year in front of the team that just beat them for the second time in the last 5 years in a Super Bowl matchup. I do wonder what the offseason conversation is going to be on Detroit with the changes in coaching staff, right? Ben Johnson, new head coach in Chicago. We expect Aaron Glenn to be somewhere, New York or New Orleans. We know how important those offensive and defensive coordinators can be. Dan Campbell is a different breed, a different mentality in the head coaching spot. But think about the Eagles last season after being a Super Bowl team the year prior. Changes in coordinators, Shane Steichen to Indy, Jonathan Gannon to Arizona, and they were not a very good team by the end of the year, ousted in the opening round. The real crux for Detroit this year was significant injuries on the defensive side of the ball, so I do believe they will be okay. But those coordinator hires and who gets those jobs in the Motor City going to be incredibly important, I think, for Detroit. All right, DRS, let's talk the team that was beat in Kansas City on Saturday afternoon. The Houston Texans, for a second consecutive year, with C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans, winning the AFC South, winning a playoff game at home as a short underdog, but getting beat rather soundingly in that divisional round. You see what the preseason expectation was for Houston and what they ended up doing. The favorites to win the AFC South, minus 215 to make the postseason, still got to double-digit wins. But, Donnie, there was a time early in the offseason after the acquisition of Stephon Diggs where we talked about the Texans as a legitimate contender to win the AFC. So buy or sell. This season was a, quote, success for the Houston Texans.
I'm buying it. I'm buying it all the way. Oh, no, those preseason expectations, Donnie, you had them through the roof. They were supposed to take down the AFC and possibly challenge Patrick Mahomes for supremacy. I get that. But sometimes you have to adjust your expectations based on what is happening. And I do think maybe you would have had a different turnout if we didn't have those devastating injuries to the wide receivers of the Houston Texans. They would have been able to go toe-to-toe. Because understand this, if you would have told me at the beginning of the season which I thought they might be able to go toe-to-toe with Kansas City, and it ends in a playoff loss in Kansas City, I probably would have said, wow, man, lost the AFC Championship game to the eventual maybe Super Bowl champions. That's a step in the right direction. But understand this with adjusted expectations where you're saying, ooh, I wonder if they can actually still win the division with all those injuries. They did that. Or how about if I told you before the season, Ben, they're going to win a playoff game where they're the underdog. You might have said, wow, they probably won round one, went on the road in round number 2 and upset somebody and found themselves in the AFC Championship game. They were dogs against Los Angeles because why? They were so injured that you didn't think they could overcome those injuries, and they did that. And they did show up in Kansas City, and they played hard. Some of the breaks just didn't go their way, but you know what would have been different? Right. Even if Tank Dell played in that game. Do you remember game number 1 where they played with Tank Dell against Kansas City, where he was shredding them before his knee absolutely got blown up on a play where he scored a touchdown and still held on to it, where they were supposed to tie the game up with a missed extra point? They didn't get great kicking. They didn't get great special teams work, but make no mistake about it. I'm a buyer on the Texans. I love their head coach. Their season didn't work out the way we all wanted it to start, but that absolutely is it. When is winning your division, winning a playoff game, not a successful season? Get out of here. Absolutely. Let's go, Houston.
Honestly, DRS, I don't think I can really add much. I think you summed it up beautifully. Yes, I buy. It is a success. Was it as high of a ceiling as maybe we expected at a certain point in the offseason or early in the year? No. But was the season itself still successful? Absolutely. For the Houston Texans. And the conversation will be this offseason, are they a legitimate contender? Can C.J. Stroud get past Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes? Maybe not, but I still do believe this season was a success. Next season will be a success. The Texans will win the AFC South for a 3rd year in a row. They will host a playoff game for a 3rd season in a row, and that will be considered success as well. We can talk about the different ceilings in H-Town, but success, absolutely. Donnie, maybe outside of the Chiefs, who've now won the AFC West, 9 consecutive years? I actually think the team that will have the second best price to win a division entering next year is going to be Houston in the AFC South, because the other 3 teams, oh boy, it ain't all that pretty. Talk Matthew Stafford up next.
Saturday, January 25th is a huge day at Gulfstream Park. It is Pegasus Cup Day. We're going to have a preview show. First Bet presents the DRF handicapping show for Pegasus World Cup. Alexa, tell us more.
Yep, Friday, January 24th. Make sure to tune in on SportsGrid TV from 2 to 3 p.m. to see the show. If you miss it then, don't worry. It airs again on Saturday at 11 a.m. We're going to talk about all the major contenders in the Pegasus Cup.
Special guests Bailey Armour, Samantha Perry, and Randy Moss will join us. Don't miss it.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across that SportsGrid network. We end out this second hour with our final edition of Buy or Sell. We have talked about the three teams that exited the divisional round this weekend. Now let's get to that fourth and final. Matthew Stafford just completed his 16th NFL season, his fourth in Los Angeles, where in his first year in LA, the Rams inside their own home stadium won a Super Bowl back in 2021. You see the stats this season, still playing at a high level for Los Angeles, guiding them to a divisional round matchup, and looked pretty good in that fourth quarter against Philadelphia, even in the snow as well. But Donnie, anytime you see a guy that was drafted first overall in 2009, when a season comes to a close, you are going to have a conversation about his future in the NFL. So buy or sell, Matthew Stafford will retire in the offseason.
Nah, we're selling that down the river. Stop the madness here. There's been no talks of him saying he wanted to retire. I know he's been banged up and injured at times here, particularly in his career, even in Detroit and in L.A. But you have to understand the optimistic side, where if there was a time to retire, it would have been post-Super Bowl win. I don't know if my body can go through this. Maybe we're going to lose some players to free agency and things aren't working out, because after the Super Bowl, things haven't worked out all that great for the Rams. But this year is one of those, let's wait and see approach. They got some young players. I don't even know if they're going to get to the playoffs. And then they absolutely got to the playoffs by winning a division. He said, you know what? They got a really good defensive line, a young up-and-coming team now at this point. Finally, some money to spend with some draft picks. Puka Nacua is my wide receiver. He'll catch it anywhere. Who knows what Cooper Kupp's going to do? I got a good running back in the backfield, and I just generally like playing football and being happy in Los Angeles. So this is a pretty easy decision for me when talking about Matthew Stafford, which I would be, put it this way, shocked if he retires. Like, it's 50-50 at this point, and I'll buy he's coming back. No. Shocked if he retires here. There are a lot of positives in Los Angeles, unless his wife goes on podcasts and say, boy, him and Puka Nacua hate each other, couldn't get along with Cooper Kupp, can't relate to this younger generation. What do you want him to do? Then he has to apologize and retire because he can't show back up in that locker room. But outside of that, yeah, he's coming back.
Do you know what the name of Kelly Stafford's podcast is, by the way?
Yeah. I think it's the early line. No, I'm just kidding. It's the morning after.
It is the morning after. Seize and desist. Stafford I guess not so much anymore. DRS, I'm going to sell this notion of Matthew Stafford retiring as well. I do believe the end is near, and had the Rams made an improbable run to a Super Bowl, maybe it'd be a different conversation after this season. I don't know how much longer he has, but I do believe he is back at least in 2025 for all the reasons that you laid out. And it could shock us, right? He is 36 years old. He turns 37 in just about 2 weeks on February 7th. He's been doing it for a long time, 16 seasons, 12 first in Detroit, came to L.A., and in his first year, of course, won a Lombardi Trophy with the Rams. Hey, you guys remember Aaron Donald? Surprisingly retiring after only a decade in the NFL. Different position, interior of the D-line, then a quarterback. And there was some conversation from Donald in a couple of previous seasons that maybe he was going to hang it up. We haven't really heard that from Matthew Stafford himself outside of just the natural questions of, hey, you've been in the NFL for more than a decade and a half. When do you think your time is coming to a close? I'm selling it. I think Matthew Stafford is the starting quarterback for the LA Rams in 2025.
Yeah, and I'm excited actually for the Rams into the future, because if you're starting that building block on that young defensive line that you have a couple more years under control, they're probably only going to get better from what you've even seen this year. That's something you can build on. And as I said, he's already got one of the young up-and-coming superstar wideouts in Puka Nacua. Who's to say that maybe the time is running short on Cooper Kupp? You remove that contract out of the equation. You get another viable option there. And you do play in a dome out in Los Angeles, good weather for the rest of the year. Now, you might say, you know what? I'm just going to buy another 2 to 3 years of my career, have fun, because it's still Sean McVay. Like, if Sean McVay were to retire, like he was talking about, let me take a step back and go up to the booth and call games, maybe that would push him out. But as long as McVay is there, Puka Nacua is there, I think he's going to give it a shot next year and also possibly the next 2 to 3 years after that. He's got a lot of talent in that arm, and as long as you have talent on that football team, why retire?
If there were upheavals in the organization, completely agree. Maybe you adjust your future accordingly. Not going to be the case, it would seem, in L.A. I'll tell you who can be our insider on this. My father, Rick Stevens. His office building in Woodland Hills overlooks the Rams' new practice facility. He'll keep a keen eye. Plays at the same golf course in the offseason as Matthew Stafford. Rick, we'll be looking at you. Hour 3 next.